roots and trying to do something from scratch or in partnership with the usual suspects. So it's usually those charities that are out there that kind of want to be a bit more enterprising to raise funds for their work, or it's something that's just grew up out of a cause like the environment or educate or young people stuff. And so it's often about that. But I've never heard of doing some PTAs do things all the time, and it's true what you're saying. It is a social enterprise.
They have make sure we don't have carrier bags and all this kind of stuff. But it's almost like, well, yeah, but let's see it locally. Let's see what you're doing for the country locally, because I think other countries then copy naturally then, don't they? If they had a specific division that was a social enterprise that put back into the community and the country, I think people would just get used to it as it's the norm, rather than at the moment it's like, oh, you're doing a social enterprise, it's not the norm. It's like it should be the norm. It should be.
Yeah. It's like
it should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a model that it's an interesting question. How could this be adapted into the corporate world so people understand it, can adopt it easily, and I suppose again, it's different points, isn't it? It's looking at where they're at, how they could easily adapt their business to be more ethical, greener, without greenwashing, because that's what some companies do. They greenwash when they're not really doing it. So there's loads of different factors that they could do. But it will always be, it can't impact the bottom line. And I think that's the reality. We can't expect suddenly businesses to start reducing profits or taking a loss, or in certain divisions, or however that might work, to be more ethical. I think it's got to be balanced with enough profit. So, but they really think about their operations and how they're operating in society and what impact they're having. I think we've got better, and I think a lot of companies have had to get better. And certainly I know local authorities, when they put out tenders, invitations to tender for certain contracts, in there are points about how do you manage your environmental impact, social impact, etc., etc. So it encourages companies to be more ethical, more social, more green, and all the rest of it in order to win that contract. So we have gone so far, but yeah, I think it's an interesting mix, isn't it? And I think we could always do better. But how
I do, because I think, I mean, you start it at the point of when mums take their children to school. We was from a daughter, we were part of a PTA, and in the whole, never been in a PTA before, but the whole emphasis was to buy extra books, because their budget was being cut dramatically on buying extra books. So automatically we wanted to ensure that the money, whatever we rose, which was very good for us as mums, because we were learning off each other, plus we were socializing, where we had lost our marbles for a little while whilst having young kids. It was like, literally, have we got any brains left, because we've been going into Google and Teletubby land and all that kind of stuff. But it worked because we had fun. And I think whilst you're having fun, and you're meeting each other, and you've got something that's really resonating with you both at the same time, and then you're generating money on the top of it, it was just amazing, and it was so simple to do, and it worked, because whilst you're not going to be in that mindset for the rest of the lifetime, for example, it automatically gives you the courage and the confidence to go back out into the big bad world and earn proper money, rather than just a bit of part-time work there around your children all the time. You're building up friendships that can work on the back of it. And I think the education, if that was formed in that, actually, whilst you're having those situations, while you're taking your kiddies to school, come along for an extra hour and have a PTA group, because you are actually doing a social enterprise. You're building into the community and helping those kids that don't have an education necessarily. We wanted to take it further. We wanted to offer private lessons after school with that money, for the children that don't get any stories read for them, for example, to help their literacy skills. We wasn't encouraged to continue, but us mums that like their kids learning about different stories, that's what we really wanted to do, is buy the books and then have a number of us on rota reading the books So the children really got really into it and come to book club more and swapped, because once you've got a little bit of literacy and maths, you can kind of do a little bit more stuff, you know. Plus the women, it helped them understand how much they know and translate that skill of what they already know over into a different line that's emotionally fulfilling again. You know, it was like, oh, this is fun, you know, we're having a laugh. And we also went for a bevy as well. You know, I'm not going to deny it, but it was a magical thing, and it was very fast how it happened, because we all had the common denominator, which was money for books, education, and it just flew because the need was there, and we had to fulfill that gap because the government didn't have enough money for the budget for the school. So it got going really, really fast. If a company had also bolted onto us at the same time, then it would have gone even further, because literally if they had just said, well, you can tap into our marketing or whatever, then they would have been an automatic sponsor of us. So they would have been doing their bit. So they don't necessarily have to put a lot of money up, but 1 hour of one marketing person's time, for example, would have helped us push it even further, but help them look, kind of tick that box at the same time. So, you know, that's in hindsight, which is a beautiful thing, but that would have been great, you know, because it was so easy to do, because it was a social event. How can we raise money? Should we have a fashion show? Should we do this? Shall we do cake stores or whatever? It's surprising what money can be made from women making do and mending and generating creative stuff. It makes lots of money in a short space of time.
Yeah, and it's that, sometimes it's about that low hanging fruit, isn't it? The simplest the idea, the simpler the idea, the more attractive it is, and the more everybody can sort of get behind it and understand it, and all sort of get behind it and say, right, we know what we're doing. And then suddenly there's a collective of people that are all aiming for the same thing. And it's just, the whole thing's just so simple, and it's beautifully simple, like getting books in for a school. You know, you could say that to a business, right, this is what we're doing, this is how we'd like you to get involved. It's clear. So
because I think that it wasn't based on strata. It wasn't based on your background. It didn't matter. It was like, are you coming in and not participating? It didn't matter if some of us was educated, some of us wasn't. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you wore suit all day, or it didn't matter if you wore jeans all day. It really took away all those barriers. So women was talking to women from a different background that probably they wouldn't have socialised with if they went to a pub, for example, with their other half. I remember one friend from Malaysia, she couldn't speak much English. She joined it, and she then got to the extent of showing us how to prepare fruit the Malaysian way. And so we all exchanged ideas and new learns based on it at the same time. And she's in Malaysia now, but literally she wouldn't have probably been enveloped into a normal gang otherwise, because of the difficulty in the language barrier at that point, you know. So it was nice that anybody and everybody could just join in. It didn't matter if you was a bloke as a single parent, or a woman as a single parent, or you've got a husband or you've got a wife. So yeah, I think the PTA's got a good model to make it a cooperative, social, fulfilling enterprise. Right, we're doing it. Come on then, Joe, we're off.
Absolutely. That's a really different angle. You know, for somebody like me that's been in the social enterprise world for 20 years, it's always about, you know, doing something that's a bit grassroots and trying to do something from scratch or in partnership with the usual suspects. So it's usually those charities that are out there that kind of want to be a bit more enterprising to raise funds for their work, or it's something that's just grew up out of a cause like the environment or educate, or, you know, young people stuff. And so it's often about that. But, you know, I've never heard of, you know, doing some, PTAs do things all the time, and it's